Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of On Deck with Big 12 Studios. I'm Casey Honigbaum, and today I'm joined by the senior shortstop from the Arizona State Sun Devils. It's Matt King. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yep. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, we'll start off where we are right now. Big 12 Player of the Week, Newcomer of the Week, both in the same week. This past week, and just I mean, some of the numbers are ridiculous. When you're hot, you're hot. I mean, you hit over 600 this week, with a couple of homers, a dozen RBIs, and 5 runs scored, and I mean, you even bumped your season average up over 400, which is an insane feat. So I want to ask you, specifically, what has your approach been at the plate over these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I would just say going up to the plate with a clear head, trying to stick to my approach, which would be, getting the ball up right exactly where I want it, swinging at my pitch and not swinging at what the pitcher wants me to swing at. They're really throwing those breakers below the zone. And I really emphasize, trying to take those and just get the exact pitch I want to hit and not miss it. And so that's kind of what I've been trying to, do in the batter's box.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like something that's almost easier said than done. And I
Most
think how do you is that something that you're working on in the cage? Is it something that you're watching film, or you're scouting other, the opposing pitchers that you're about to face? How does, if you can put it into words, how does someone work on something like that?
For me, it's more in the cage.
Okay.
Every day I go in there, before practice, and I'm seeing breakers below the zone. I'm just taking them. I'm not, swinging at them. I'm just
Yeah.
training my eyes to take that pitch, and then training the fastball velo on the hack attack machine. And yeah, I would just say more in the cage. I've been kind of chilling out on the scouting and all the
Mm,
information. Trying not to like overwhelm myself with too much information. So
I like that. Because I was, obviously baseball is such a mental game, and it can get in your head so easily. And especially with hitting, you can almost lose timing overnight. How was that something that, well, you mentioned earlier, going up to the plate with a clear head? Was that something that you started doing this season, or was it something that kind of has always been an approach that you've carried through your baseball career?
I'd say it's always been, kind of an approach, but it's not easy to do that every day.
Yeah.
It's like earlier in the year, I was struggling a little bit, not hitting the way I wanted to. And then one day I was just like, screw this. Like I'm just not gonna care what happens. I'm just gonna go up there and I'm just gonna, be myself and, not hesitate at anything and just swing if I want to swing. And,
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
there and, I got going.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I want to ask too. I mean, you spent the first 3 years of your collegiate career at UTSA and obviously transferred to Arizona State this year. Talk to us a little bit about what went through or what went into that decision for you to come to Arizona State and the Big 12.
Yeah, I would just say it's more of just like my dream of playing at a school like this.
Yeah.
I spent 3 years there at UTSA and, I love my time there. I wouldn't change my journey for, anything.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I developed well there, and I just figured it was time for me to, uh, probably enter the portal and then, find a school like Arizona State and, play on this Power Four stage or, in the Big 12. So it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, definitely worked out so well, or well so far for sure. And I want to ask, what specifically, if you can think of something maybe that drew you to Arizona State. A couple of the people we've talked to on this show so far this year have talked about some of the specifics, whether it was the way that the coaches and made them feel, and the characteristics of the team and the environment, things like that. What was it that went into your decision to pick Arizona State specifically, if you have
Yeah.
one?
So I guess like coming on my visit, talking to the coaches, like you just said, they really made me feel like they could take me to another level. And
Yeah.
just walking around the campus, seeing the field, all the achievements and the history at this school, all the players that have came through here, and it was something I really wanted to be a part of. And but yeah, most definitely the coaches, helped me, get to another level. And so thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask too, it's because obviously, um, Was UTSA, are they in the American Conference? Is that right?
Yeah, so my freshman year, they were Conference USA and
That's
or
right.
years, and then last year we were American.
Okay, okay. I couldn't remember which year they made the jump, but is there a difference at all from the American Conference to the Big 12? And if there is one, what has been the biggest difference that you've seen so far?
I would say there's more talent
Okay.
at this conference and more depth. Like each arm a team brings out the bullpen could be 95 plus, or
Yeah.
each starter is a guy. So
Yeah.
I'll just say more depth, more talent, just well-rounded teams. But yeah,
Yeah. How does that? I mean, you've talked a little bit, obviously you talked about your approach earlier. But when you're facing, a guy like that day in and day out, the Friday night starter, your Saturday starter, and then guys like you're talking about guys out of the pen coming in throwing 95 plus. What was that like, seeing that on a more consistent basis? And, were you able to shift and change your approach to, I guess further than just, going up there with a clear head, or if there was anything that you changed to kind of, see that, I guess, sharper stuff more consistently?
yeah, I think this fall has all really helped me.
Yeah.
Seeing our pitchers day in and day out. They kind of handled our bats a little bit this fall, and they really got us ready for the season. I feel like, and so, but yeah, I guess on the weekends, I think the biggest thing is just flushing each at bat. Whatever happens, if you get out or you strike out, you just got to flush it, and then
Yeah.
you got to get right to the next at bat, or else this guy's gonna handle you. So
Yeah. It's a hard game. I mean, if you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're one of the best. So,
yeah,
in your case, 4 out of 10 times. There you go. But I want to ask about the team as well. Obviously, you mentioned some of that stuff in the fall. Obviously, the offense has been one of the strong suits this year, especially. And right now, you guys are tied for the third best record in the conference. Want to ask on a team level, what's been working for you guys so far this year?
yeah, I would just say from the offensive standpoint, it's kind of just like getting back to the approach.
Mm,
We're all kind of trying to stick with that consistent approach, and where I feel like we're finally starting to heat up at the
yeah,
right time. You don't want to be that team that heats up at the beginning and then runs out of gas. So I feel like a lot of people might have been worried, outside of our team, but I think for us, we're heating up at the right time. We're gonna, get this thing going. So, but
yeah.
yeah, just if we get the offense and the pitching, and the defense all clicking together, I don't think any team wants to see us on the schedule.
Absolutely not. No, and you kind of started to touch on it there, and you answered the question a little bit, but that was one of the things I was going to ask is, now that you're starting to roll into or getting closer to postseason play, this is the time, like you said, that you want to be playing your best baseball. What are some of the things that you guys, want to continue to do better as you get closer, to the postseason?
Yeah, I would just say continue to put up more runs. I mean,
Okay.
as an offense, we kind of just want to take it out of the pitcher's hands, and we just want to win the game ourselves. But obviously, having good pitchers like we do,
Yeah.
Benny and Marty, Cole Carlone, and all those guys, they shut it down. So if
Yeah.
those things come together, it could be a blowout game. So
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned something earlier that was interesting and, kind of saying that from the outside looking in, some fans or people might have been a little bit concerned at the start of the year, but you guys always kept that. You guys always knew what you had inside the clubhouse, and I want to ask how do you? Because that can be a tough thing to keep the faith, I guess, for lack of a better term. But how do you do that as a team? Is that, the camaraderie that you guys have? Is it stuff that you do off the field? Is it the way that the coaches coach you guys? What does that look like?
I would just say the camaraderie, like you said, just a
Yeah.
grind day in and day out. These are random guys to me, 6, 7, however many months ago it was, and then
Yeah.
now we're brothers.
Yeah.
And so, we're fighting for each other, we're playing for each other, and so I think that's the strongest, bond you could have. And that's kind of how you keep your faith, is just playing for each other and trusting the guy next to you.
Yeah, I love that. What about that camaraderie has been most special to you? Are there things that you guys do? Because I think, one of the the most special things about college baseball sometimes is some of those off the field memories that you guys create together. Are there some things that you guys do specifically to, kind of stay loose off the field, to help that camaraderie grow?
Yeah, I would definitely say we get together, off the field, have some fun. But a lot of times it's just us sticking around the locker room, after practice, after games, just talking to each other, hanging out. And so, yeah, definitely we got a strong bond here for sure.
Nice. I love that. A couple fun ones for you before we let you go. Kind of music do you guys listen to off the field? Baseball's very interesting because it can go anywhere from like Latin music, hip hop, country. Do you guys mix it up? Do you have one specific genre that you stick to? What does that look like?
I feel like it's a lot of mixing on our team.
Okay.
Um, I think a lot of guys like country. I don't listen
Mhm.
to country personally.
I'm with
I'm
you.
more like classic rock or like rap or something
Yeah.
like that.
All right. So yeah, you and me both. What artists? What's your pregame playlist? If you had a couple artists that you want to give.
If I was to pick like one, I'd say Ozzy Osbourne,
Oh, well,
Guns N'
Crazy
Roses.
Train.
Yeah,
There you go.
Guns N' Roses is pretty good.
Okay.
Just rock bands like that get me pretty going before the game.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, another question that I wanted to ask you as well, going back to the field, but this has been a big year for you offensively. Obviously, you've played terrific shortstop throughout the year, as well. But as you start, getting to the summer months, the MLB draft starts rolling around. Is that something that you think about at all, or is it something that, you kind of just let the chips fall where they may and figure it out as it comes along?
Yeah, I mean, we still got a long season left. I mean, hopefully we're playing all the way through June,
Yeah,
and just playing right now honestly just keeps my mind off it. So yeah, as long as we can keep playing, my mind's not even gonna be there, and I'm just gonna let whatever happens happens.
I love that. I love that. Another question I wanted to ask you, two more, and then I'll let you go here. But I like asking guys who their big league, not equivalent is, maybe just a guy that you like to watch, whether you emulate your game off them a little bit or not, but a guy that you just maybe grew up watching or like to watch right now. Who's that for you in the show?
When I was growing up, it was definitely Dustin Pedroia,
Ooh,
who
yeah.
actually came here to Arizona State. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool, and I'm rocking the same number as he did.
Wow,
So
full circle.
yeah, it's pretty
Look
crazy.
at that. Oh, I love that. He's one of those guys who I'm a David Wright fan, so I feel like him and Dustin Pedroia are those two guys where if injuries didn't get in the way,
For
like
sure.
Hall of Fame locks.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Last question. I have to ask this because not only is it something that's been going all over the internet, but it's all that, you know, my coworkers and I can talk about. But have you seen this 100 people versus one gorilla debate? Have you
I,
guys debated that in the clubhouse? I really want to know what Division 1 baseball players think about this about this
yeah,
controversy.
someone was talking about that in the locker room yesterday, and then this morning I was on Twitter, and it's like all over my Twitter.
It's
And so I don't know. I think 100 people should be able to take a gorilla. I
yeah.
would hope so, but I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, the numbers add up, but then it's just like it's a gorilla.
Yeah,
So I don't know. But anyways, Matt, this was fantastic. I really want to thank you again for taking the time to do this with us. And everybody out there, if you enjoyed watching this interview, you can find more on the Big 12 Conference YouTube channel and on all of your social media platforms at Big 12 Studios. So Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on a busy week for you guys.
yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.